Hey, good morning, folks. Yes, it's not outdoors at Sycamore Crossing enjoying the sights and the sounds, but this morning we are in our winter home here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Welcome to the office. I am RFG, substituting in for BKP. We're going to have a good time this morning. We've got Doc in the house. He's over there sneezing already. I don't know if he's catching cold or we'll have to talk to him about that. Anyway, we woke up this morning to 35 degrees and chilly and foggy. So I think the weather has turned. So we, as we always do, joined our friends over here at Circuit World. This is where we winter. We don't, go to Florida to winter. We come to Circuit World on Fridays, always on Fridays. So we're delighted to be here. We've got a great segment this morning for Ask the Doc. We've got two questions, and we're going to figure out what's current in the news in medicine. We also have some surprises for the All-Star panel this morning. We have the first ever all-female All-Star panel coming in. So that should be a raucous time. And Jessie Barton from Cameron Hall will not be joining us today, sadly. She had a conflict this morning, so she won't be here. But we assume that the star of the show, the pet of the week, will be here with Rena and whoever she surprises us with. I was over at the adoption center yesterday, and there's some amazing, cute little puppies in there. So she's going to come over and tell us what we've got. We're going to take a quick break here for a second, and then we'll come back with Dr. William Whaley from North Georgia Cancer Specialist. Stand by. Take us to break.
Ace is your healthful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
8 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
We're here at Sycamore Crossing. Well, no, we're not. We're not here at Sycamore Crossing.
man.
What's the matter with me? We are in our winter home.
We've been in overcoat.
That's
with
right.
Sycamore Crossing.
I tell you what, we made a command decision last night or the night before. I can't remember when it was. Lisa said they were doing the football show here and said, the weather looks like it's going to be tough. So all I could imagine was us sitting out there on that cold, damn furniture with this fog settled in. It wouldn't have been pretty.
No, it'd been nice if we had one of those foot warmers or
Yeah, if
something.
we had a little,
maybe some
maybe
of
a
that
little,
stuff you get on the ski lift, the spiced tea or something. But it's a little much for 8 o'clock in the morning. I think.
Well, you were here early this morning. You're red-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Oh yeah, I mean, this interferes with my exercise. I usually exercise 80 minutes a day.
You get up at like what, 5:30 in the morning?
Yeah. So. And I have to wake my wife up before I leave, and get her some coffee and take the dogs out.
My wife's coming in this morning as well. So,
well, listen.
Anyway,
I'm not wearing any special tie today,
Right.
but I did want to. I think I told you a few weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
That when I was in Russia, I met with a cosmonaut
Right.
who had made an extravehicular trip.
And he went to his home, didn't you?
Well, no, we met him at his place of business, but there was another home we went to. But the point I'm making is that right this very minute, there are 2 American women making an extravehicular. Right this second.
Spacewalk, right?
This second. Yeah.
I think, what did I read? That they're replacing some batteries?
Well, I don't know. They're doing a wrench or something.
Turning a wrench.
But the point I'm making is that I'm 79 years old.
I'm 72 almost.
But in our day, a great job for a woman was a school teacher. If she was African American, it was working in the post office. I mean, really, think about that.
Yeah.
And now my daughter, was the president of GE insurance business. So what's that, Genworth? She's 55 years old and went to Harvard. But thinking about 2 females in an extravehicular walk in space is really that glass ceiling, I think.
There is no glass ceiling anymore
Well,
now.
they say there still is in terms of income, but at least for my kids, I don't see it. But I was thinking to myself, this is less than 15 years, I think, after the first female landed a fighter plane on an aircraft carrier.
Right.
It's, about 6 months after the first females were integrated into combat duties in the Navy.
We have a female former fighter pilot serving in Congress as well.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, I just think that's a really big deal, and for guys as old as me, it's culture shock. But I'm real proud of them, and I just wanted to say that's a big deal. And
it is a big deal.
It's a big deal, and you'll have my wife in here in a little while. And anyway, it's enough said about that. You want to talk about questions?
Curing cancer is a big deal, and we're going to get to the first question this morning.
As a matter of fact, curing cancer, that's this first question. You go ahead and read it now.
Okay. My nephew's 22 years old and in great health. An athlete, has Hodgkin's disease, and another boy in his high school, several years younger, has Hodgkin's as well. Could these be related to something at school?
Well, that question is written in a way that really opens up a whole bunch of doors. First of all, I'm going to tell you no, it's probably not. But I can tell you why you're thinking that way. And thinking that way it goes over some really, really, really great history that I think it's important for people to understand. Many malignancies, we had no idea what the causation was 20 years ago. And the more and more we learn today, the more we learn about how some of these malignancies are caused. There's an interesting malignancy called Burkitt's lymphoma. Now, you're a very bright guy. You do trivia. Dennis Burkitt was a English, and by the way, I met him, and he gave a talk at West Paces Ferry Hospital, and he came all the way from Africa to give it. It's a long story behind that.
That's been a while back then, hasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. But Dennis Burkitt was an English physician who went to Africa when Africa was still black Africa right after World War II. And he made two observations The first is so simple, and it has to do with fiber, and that was that the native population eating tubers and this natural diet, and if they were eating a gazelle or something, they had lower amounts of meat, that group of people had a very low incidence of high blood pressure, diverticulosis, colon cancer, hemorrhoids, and all of those things. And the genetically pure blacks in places like Daufuskie Island, South Carolina, and the communities that at that point had not yet begun to intermarry, had a much higher incidence of hypertension, colon cancer, and all diverticulosis. And the Americans were having about 100 grams of stool a day, and the Africans were having 500 grams or more a day. That's over a pound of stool. And that was the way that the idea that high fiber diets move things through the colon fast enough so that it doesn't sit there and make cancer. Now, we brought that up, many times ago. Well, the second thing was that he noted that there was a malignant lymphoma that occurred at a certain altitude by the way, he did all that research about that high fiber diet thing on less than 200 pounds of postage and paper. Now, you think about these hundreds of millions of dollars we spend studying the sex habits of the newt or something. So the second study that he did, and it also cost less than 200 pounds, was there was a whole geography of a lymphoma that's exactly like Hodgkin's, which is why I bring it up, that occurred only between, let's say, 1,000 feet altitude and 2,500 feet altitude in Africa. And he says,
so
now what?
That strata was...
It's just like the tree line or something in the mountains, So here's what he did. He began to investigate what was peculiar about it, and there was one species of mosquito that lived at that altitude, and Burkitt's lymphoma was linked to a virus that mosquito could transmit, and above it, that mosquito didn't live, other mosquitoes lived, and below it, the other mosquitoes lived. So that was the first idea, and that's been, 70 years ago, that malignant lymphoma could have a causation that might be geographic and really due to something rather than just bad luck and popping up. You got it?
So this ties into the high school.
It ties into the high school. So if they'd say that high school was at altitude, right. You could have said it's due to that virus. Okay, here we go. Show up that first one. You can't turn on the TV today without seeing that ad right there, right? If you've been diagnosed with lymphoma, we can help. This is a lawyer ad. Got Roundup on there.
Yep.
Well, there's a similar thing about ovarian cancer and talcum powder. And in my opinion, even though the juries are giving out huge amounts of money, this is a fallacious link. We certainly know that malignancies can be stimulated by certain insecticides and other things, but the link between Roundup and Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is extremely thin. And some guy who's used Roundup 4 times in his parking lot or out in his yard over his lifetime who got Hodgkin's disease, it's very difficult to link it to Roundup, but if he jumps on the bandwagon, his family might get some money. Okay, show that next thing there. What is Hodgkin's disease, all right? Well, this is sort of a cartoon of the various lymph node bearing areas of the body. And so commonly when you diagnose Hodgkin's disease in yourself or your nephew does, he's probably shaving and feels a lump like this, or he's bathing and he feels a lump under his arms, or he feels a lump in his groin. So where lymph nodes grow close to the surface of the skin, where you can find them having some size, then that ain't normal, and you go to your doctor and he gives you antibiotics and it doesn't go away, and then you go see the surgeon and he takes a piece of it and sticks a needle of it, then both non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and Hodgkin's lymphoma present in exactly the same way. So that's sort
Are
of.
you going to talk about the difference between the two?
No, well, they have
in a
different.
nutshell?
They have different biological behaviors. It's like small cell and non-small cell lung cancer we've talked about before.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
That's right, because Hodgkin's lymphoma starts in a specific spot and then grows from that spot or spreads through the bloodstream to other areas like many other malignancies. And non-Hodgkin's lymphomas pop up in most lymph nodes everywhere. And the biological behavior of every other lymphoma is different than the biological behavior of Hodgkin's.
So one has a specific path that it follows
Well,
when it metastasizes?
yeah, but in lymphoma we don't call it metastasizes,
Okay.
but it's the same concept.
Okay.
But so the biological behavior of Hodgkin's disease, the histologic way it looks under the microscope, there is one specific cell called the Reed-Sternberg cell that is the fingerprint for Hodgkin's, and no other lymphoma has it.
Got it.
So that's why the Hodgkin's lymphoma is clearly separate from all of this legion of others that go all the way from acute leukemia of children to the smoldering, don't even treat it, chronic lymphocytic leukemia of adults. So
And
anyway.
it's commonly called Hodgkin's disease,
Hodgkin's disease or Hodgkin's disease,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Now show the next one here. These are causes and risk factors, but right at the top, they do say people who've been exposed to chemicals, pesticides, and solvents, infected with the Epstein-Barr virus. So that's the virus of mononucleosis.
Okay.
Go back to Burkitt's lymphoma.
Right.
Same type of virus. So there is some link between the infection with a virus or the exposure to pesticides that'll have a statistical link to Hodgkin's disease. But 99% of the patients we see have no exposure to anything. But that's sort of where this question gets its genesis. Now, this last one here is kind of interesting. This picture here, these are different colors, are states that have a higher incidence of Hodgkin's lymphoma than the nation as a whole. If you just say it's supposed to be 10 per 100,000 people, then out here in California where they got millions of pinko commie Democrats, there ought to be a higher number there ought to be a higher number of total Hodgkin's disease, but compared to Montana, where they only got 900,000 people, it would still be 10 per 100,000, you see. Okay, well, it's a higher incidence in these states here.
The dark ones?
Yeah. Now, some people would say, is that because there's more industrial? Way back when, they would have said there's more industry in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's the Iron Belt.
Yeah, right. And up here, you've got
Belt,
Chicago. Yeah, right. But you got over here, you used to make shoes and stuff, and there were factories everywhere. This was dense population at one time.
Right.
So they would link,
Especially the Northeast.
yeah, but that doesn't, that one does. But when you start throwing in Mississippi and Louisiana,
Right,
you
right.
miss. All right, so there's no real explanation for that. So you can pull that off if you don't mind. There was a high school in Georgia, and I've forgotten, Ludowici or someplace down there, where there were only 50 kids in the high school. This has been about 20 years ago.
South Georgia.
South Georgia.
Okay.
And over the course of about 5 years, like 8 kids in that school had Hodgkin's disease. I mean, the CDC and the World Health Organization, everybody studied it, and they got, a bunch of Georgia Tech engineers or something, and it's just, sometimes guys get on a roll, right? I don't know if you've ever been to a gambling casino. I haven't, but I've seen them in the movies where the guy's throwing, it's just sevens, and he's just making it, and he's
hot.
He's hot. He's got dice, and he's throwing the dice, and he can make millions before he craps out. It's statistical. It's unlikely that you'll throw 9 in a row and win, but the guy does. Well, that was the ultimate explanation for all of these kids in the high school.
Anomaly.
It is a statistical anomaly, and yes, the odds are small, but there was no other valid explanation. Well, that doesn't mean that next year they're not going to discover that there was, you know, I'm not asbestos in the floor, but I mean, you can just think about asbestos. For years, we had these mesothelioma coming up, and nobody knew where it came from. And then all of a sudden, you say, my gosh, this is occurring in machinist mates in the Navy and occurring in people who work in the insulation business, putting John Mansville stuff up on the wall. And you know, once they could see the cluster of the occupations, then all of a sudden, well, what do boiler technicians in the Navy have that's in common to people who are relining brakes and filling stations and doing construction work, where airline pilots aren't getting it, and you know, people who drive gasoline trucks and are around fumes all the time, they're not getting it, and that's kind of how they got to the linking between. Yeah, well. Yeah, not possible. Yes, it's epidemiology. You know what that's called, epidemiology. What's common? Well, you know, they weren't all Presbyterians, they weren't all white, they weren't all Hispanic. They were all boiler technicians, or they were all John Mansville insulation things, or they were guys who worked in filling stations and in mechanics places where they relined asbestos brakes. So, I mean, it's amazing if you go back and read about how that all happened. So. Anyhow, so someday somebody may find out in that high school down there that they had some mosquito, or they had some virus, or they had some chemical in that school nobody has found yet. So I'm not diminishing the fact that there could be reasons for these clusters, but I will say to this woman whose nephew has Hodgkin's disease that this is a statistical event. And they don't worry about them having been exposed to something, and everybody else in school needs to panic, because when that starts happening, and people start questioning the safety of their home and everything, it you know, causes a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety. Now, if you live in Smyrna, Georgia, you got to worry about these chemical plants. They just
did another one.
They just did another one yesterday.
Yeah.
That was in Covington, Georgia, I think.
76 times the allowable.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, and that might not cause anything, but 76 times greater than
We're talking about these sterilization plants that use ethylene oxide.
Yeah, and
in their autoclaving.
It's very important.
Yeah.
But excuse me, not autoclaving. That's it's the non-heat sterilization.
Right.
It's really important. You were asking me before what would happen if they cured cancer all at once. If they got rid of that stuff and you couldn't sterilize things without heat, it would absolutely change the medical supply industry. And you spent 50 years in it, not 50, I guess, but
several.
30 years
yeah,
in it.
Anyway, right.
A couple decades in the business. So anyway, we've got to solve this problem. Now, if that means putting this in a bubble or moving these plants way out to Montana or putting them on top of a mountain or something, that's okay. But that problem's got to be solved.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unreasonable for, Smyrna, Georgia, and Covington, Georgia, to shut these guys down while they figure it out. But this lady here should not have to worry about it. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to throw, you know me, I like to throw curveballs every once in a while. When we talk about all of these studies, and, you know, have you been exposed to Roundup, and, you know, have you been doing pesticides? Tell me the similarity, and you served in Vietnam. Tell me the similarity with Agent Orange.
Entirely different.
Okay.
Agent Orange is dioxin.
Okay.
And that
it's a defoliant, right?
Yeah, but that's like the difference between a BB gun and a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good for the people in the mountains, right? We all understand our firearms. We cling to our Bibles. We cling to our Bibles. We cling to our flags, and we cling to our guns. And everybody's got a BB gun.
No, but I mean, our generation. I personally know people that are suffering from being exposed to Agent Orange much later in life.
Yeah, let me go back and talk about Agent Orange just a minute. During the defoliant period in Vietnam, and I was there, the C-130 planes would fly over the jungle and would put out this great big old heavy fog that if you think about these forest fires out west where you see these planes drop in the water,
Right.
that is exactly what it looked like.
Right.
Now, I want you to imagine that you're a 17 or an 18-year-old soldier in that jungle. Well, that stuff would come down on you like rain. Now, the first thing that they noticed was within a week or two, where it actually fell on a guy's back, they would get this huge rash called chloracne. And it'd be like being in poison ivy. It was an awful thing. Now, that was a very high exposure. Now, imagine that the thing came down last week, and now you walking into the jungle a week or two later, you don't see it anywhere. It's on the ground. It's in, but it's probably not. So that exposure, which was not acute and didn't cause your skin to rot off, that over time has caused prostate cancer and caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Well, that's
particularly
what I was
has
trying to tie
caused
it to.
bone marrow
Yeah.
diseases and
Right.
so forth. So that is a very clear-cut chemical exposure to a very toxic drug, toxic chemical that at the time was not recognized as causing malignancy. But it was put in there in such high amounts over such a short period of time that it created a critical mass in terms of numbers, probably 1 million people that were exposed to it, so that, where before that, the chemical was not anywhere. So how would you know that it was causing cancer? You put it on 1 million soldiers, then let them live 30 years, and that's a biological
I didn't mean
experiment.
to throw you
no,
that curveball.
no, that's the same.
But I thought it tied back a
It
little
does,
bit.
exactly. Same thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, we know for a fact that, and that was a good example. In fact, better than Roundup. If that sign had said Agent Orange on it, I'd said call them up.
Yeah,
But anyway, I'm not
call the
convinced that
lawyer.
Roundup is the one.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I heard an interesting commercial yesterday, and it was from Northside Hospital Cancer Research.
Yep, that's us.
And it was very interesting because there was a doctor, and I think his name started with an A, but I can't remember exactly. But he was the spokesperson on the commercial, and he said how they have developed this legion of oncologists like yourself. And he made the specific example. He said, I can talk to someone in Blue Ridge, Georgia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm thinking, he's talking to Dr. Whaley.
That's right.
So it was pretty interesting.
It is interesting. The thing about that is that I am older than these young people that are very smart. And one thing that I never want to do is feel like I'm out of date or what I'm doing is not in the
Relevant,
in the mainstream of
Yeah.
science.
Yeah.
Well, having 120 medical oncologists next week, as a matter of fact, the groups, the breast cancer group and the prostate cancer group, are all meeting to go over and we will come up with a plan that's best practices. And then when I type in a protocol to treat somebody, it's filtered through all of them that it's up to date. And then if I've got a question, which is really, everybody's heard me say this, I can go onto my email and say, I've got a problem, and I can either put it out to all the oncologists or I can send it specifically to the breast cancer ones and say, here's my problem. Within 15 minutes, I've got responses from experts in that particular thing saying, okay, what you're doing is right, or you should also consider this. So having this gigantic network like this creates a quality and a backup system so that everybody knows they're doing the right stuff.
I mean, that's a phenomenal clinical model that they've developed.
Yeah, it is.
The bone docs, the osteopaths, the
Orthopedics.
orthopedic guys, they've been doing that as well. I mean, they communicate with each other, and I might need a trauma guy because I've got a compound fracture here, and they've been doing that as well. So
you got guys that do in the eyes. You got people that do corneas, and then the part between the cornea and the iris, and then the water part.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Yeah.
all right, let's
You're
get on.
specialist.
Let's get on now and talk
All right,
about
we
the
got,
compression fracture. This is a good
let's see.
question.
My mother, who is 70, a young lady, had a compression fracture that the doctor said was from osteoporosis. And now they think she might have a bone marrow protein problem, and she needs to see an oncologist. What do you think?
I think that your mother is getting really good modern health care. Again, with some history, back in my early days in practice, before there was a PSA, before there was an autoanalyzer, before there were any of these modern laboratory tests that are done on your annual physical, one of the common things we would see in men with low back pain was metastatic prostate cancer that had never been diagnosed, that had spread to the back, okay? Now, women get osteoporosis and they get compression fractures, right? So show that first picture there. This is a cartoon of a compression fracture. And what that really means is that the vertebral body, you see this one right here,
Yep.
is sort of squeezed down in front this
It's just
way.
getting mushed.
Getting mushed. Well, this was a very common thing in fighter pilots in Vietnam, or any fighter pilot who ejects from a fighter, okay? When you eject from a fighter, you're sitting in a seat. When you pull down that
Handle.
that handle over you, well, I'll give it a little bit more of that. If you're doing this, then your hands are going down here and you can't get your hand up there. There's a little lever between your feet, between your knees, you can pull up. And then if the plane's going that way, you got this circular thing in front of you can grab and pull down. Either of those ignite, and then like shotgun shells are underneath the canopy and blows the canopy off.
Those lift charges get
It's
you right out
dynamite, though, under your seat.
Yeah.
And that dynamite under your seat blows you straight up in the air. Now, why does a fighter pilot wear steel-toed shoes to fly an airplane? Well, because if he's being thrown back, his feet go out like that. It'll cut his feet off kind of when it hits the dashboard. And if he's got steel-toed shoes, at least it might not cut his feet off. Well, anyway, when that thing went off, it was not uncommon when you picked them up off the ground or picked them up out of the water. Oh, boy, my back kills me. They would have a compression fracture in the low lumbar spine just from that dynamite, because they got strong bones, right? Now, other people, like up here in the mountains, they'll go out to get the newspaper when it's icy, and they'll slip and fall right on their fanny, and they get a compression fracture. Well, those are all traumatic, and those are normal bones. Now, show that next one, okay? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that these bones right here are really thin. See, that's the ribs that you see over here that are white.
So this
Now,
is a lateral view?
It's lateral view. This is a woman. You see she got wearing a necklace. Well, that compression fracture is bang like that, and this woman's standing up straight. So this is one of these women that you see in the checkout line at Ingalls who are bent like that due to compression fractures. And if you ask them, say, how tall were you when you got married when you were 30? So I was 5'7". Say, what are you now? I'm 5'2". Well, that 5 inches is gone in those bones that have collapsed like that. I was 5'11 1/4 when I was in college. I'm 5'9" now. I've lost 2 1/4 inches. But I'm not compressed like that. I'm sort of compressed like this. They're just doing this. Okay, so that's the compression fracture. That's generally is due to osteoporosis. So let's go to this next one here. So what causes osteoporosis? Well, one of them is sex, right? Females are going to get it more than males, and that's because their estrogens go away and the bones get thin. But thin, blonde women get it worse than thick, non-blonde women. So aging gets it, early menopause gets it, inactivity, lack of exercise causes osteoporosis and fractures. Vitamin deficiency, calcium
That was a general announcement
deficiencies.
for anybody in the house, I might
right.
add.
Cigarette smoking, alcohol, and then the genetic thing I said, thin, lightly complected women get it worse than dark ones do. But that then why are they talking about this woman going to see a hematologist? Now, all right, show that pretty one there where the bone marrow thing is made. Now, that's why I saved this one for you, because this copy we got of it's not too good here. But this picture is absolutely gorgeous, don't you think?
That's pretty.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Here is what they have learned about your mother. your mother probably has a high protein on the biochemical profile they did when they were seeing if her calcium was okay, right? They were worried about her calcium. They were checking her vitamin D, and they noted that she had a high protein. So this is a hip, not a back. But all through the middle of the bone there, isn't that pretty? Mm-hmm. There are normal lymphocytes. We know about the lymphocytes. We just got through talking about Hodgkin's disease, right? That become plasma cells, and plasma cells what makes your antibodies when you get a vaccination or you get the flu or you stick a splinter in your foot. Well, these cells can sort of become malignant or pre-malignant, and then they began to make abnormal proteins. Okay, so those abnormal proteins are what you see right there. You got it?
Got it.
All right, now just pull that down, and we're going to have nothing up there for a minute. So, here is what they're worried about your mother. These plasma cells in your mother's bones have a way of, from the inside out, dissolving the calcium out and making the bone thin that is totally unrelated to menopause, calcium, or vitamin D, and can be a pre-malignant, doesn't have to be malignant, or early malignant, or advanced malignancy, and that is the one we call multiple myeloma.
Okay.
Now, you remember we had a famous, what was it, the Secretary of State back under Nixon's wife had multiple myeloma, and that made it, then they got to be a popular thing where they before they had the ribbons and everything,
exactly.
But it increased the awareness of women that there was something else that could make their bones all messed up. So multiple myeloma, put that next one up there. Your mother may have multiple myeloma, probably doesn't. But if your mother has multiple myeloma, they're going to be doing a blood test where they're going to find this protein abnormal in a high amount. They're probably going to go and do a bone marrow, and they're going to find a lot more plasma cells, and they will then tell you, okay, you can pull that thing down now. Most common thing I see here, and it's really common, is called the monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. And I can remember
I didn't remember that.
I remember that right. It was MUGUS, remember?
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's been
so
maybe a year ago.
acronym.
Yeah, MUGUS is what that was. I used this analogy. If you go to a Falcon football game that's sold out, which you probably won't be many of the rest of the season, they're going to be...
He said with disdain.
Yeah, there are going to be 88,000 people in the stands, all right? The tickets are going to be expensive, so let's just say for the sake of argument, most of them are over 50. 4% to 5% of that means somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000 normal people in that place are going to have, by this new fancy technique that you get with your regular physicals, because you know now this fancy machine tests every protein in every cell.
That's part of the whole panel, huh?
Yeah, but we didn't know how to do that before.
Exactly.
So it'll say, oh, your globulin is high. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Not much.
Could be precancerous, though.
Yeah, but that, I mean, until we had this, we didn't know about it. People just wandering around feeling fine. Now you get it. They say, oh, well, let's figure that out. Well, it is one of these monoclonal plasma cell things called monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. And then if you're a nervous Nelly, you say, oh, my gosh, I'll read it. Then they go home, they get on the internet.
Then they start Googling.
They go on the internet. Then they read about myeloma. My God, I need a bone marrow transplant. My average survival is going to be 5 years. I need chemotherapy. My hair is going to fall out with hair. No. Monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance is treated by watchful waiting, just like those early lymphomas. You don't do anything. And the majority of them, only 3% per year, convert to a real myeloma that has to be treated. Well, that means 97% don't. So why are you going to worry about the 3%? You got to worry more about driving out here on the highway than that 3%. So Mama may have a monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. She may not have anything at all. But this is the time where Mama needs to go and see a hematologist and get a very thorough evaluation. They may tell her she's got the MUGUS. and they need to observe her. But one more thing they're going to do is they're going to give her a drug to strengthen her bones. Now, you remember Sally Fields?
Yep.
And I used this example just last week or week before last. Sally Fields advertises a pill to keep your bones strong. We have a shot that can be given subcutaneously or in the vein that's the same type of medication that is to make your bone stronger. And my analogy always is that in the Bible it says if you spread your seed on barren soil, it won't grow. On fertile soil, it grows and you get a good crop. And by the side of the road, it germinates, comes up, and is choked out by the weeds. So that says that there is a characteristic of soil that makes it better or worse for the growth of the seed, and that's what the bone is. So if you make the bone strong with this Sally Fields medicine, then it'll make it less able for lung cancer, breast cancer, or the plasma cell to grow, and it'll strengthen your mother's bones. So
makes total sense.
Don't panic. Take your mama to the hematologist and hope that the best comes out of it.
You got it.
Is that enough?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
All righty. Every week we sit on the edge of our chair waiting for the latest and greatest in medical information.
Well, you brought up, first of all, we came in here today because I sent you all a copy of yesterday.
Right.
The Georgia Department of Public Health entered its vaping advice to all practitioners. That means pediatricians and psychiatrists and everybody got that thing I sent you yesterday.
If you got letters after your name, you got a copy of it.
You got a copy. And it said, have your patients stop vaping, 100% of them. That's more advice than I had given in the last week, because I said still, if you got a really good product and you're trying to get off of cigarettes, I think the cigarettes are worse than the vaping. At least right now, they think vaping's probably worse than the cigarettes. I think, as you said, all vaping products are violating a federal rule. So there's no vape product that isn't technically illegal. Now, you go ahead.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services was on this morning, and I think his name was Azra, and he commented that, and it shocked me, and I mean, that's why it grabbed me. He said, every vaping product on the market, whether it's ethical, unethical, whether it's Juul, whatever it is, whether it's water-based, oil-based, it is illegal. And the interviewer sat up just like I did and said, what do you mean it's illegal? He said, because of the fact that the Obama administration saw a need to relax the regulations, they were able to let these manufacturers flood the market so as they thought was going to curb combustion nicotine.
Yeah. Air pollution.
Air pollution. Right, exactly.
Environmental.
So technically, I don't
Global
care how
warming.
good the product is, they're in violation and they have not been certified as
Safe.
For efficacy.
Yeah, it's safe. That's
Yeah.
right. Correct. Well, anyway, so I'd say right this minute, throw your vaping stuff in the sink in the drawer until we learn more about
Well,
it.
let me tell you, it's going to be tough for some of these kids that have succumbed to. I heard a study last week that it's okay if it's a water-based product. If
Yeah,
it's
it's
an
not.
oil-based product that converts, and there's something going on with the conversion
Yeah, but
of that.
that's not true, though. The water-based product ain't good either.
Okay.
Because it can have metal in there.
And we learned that
yeah, we learned that
yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I got to tell you, you remember, I spent a couple weeks ago, I was talking about the smartphone slouch. Remember?
Yep.
All right. Yesterday, American Academy of Orthopedics or something came out. It is a huge problem because, now, first of all, months ago, I showed that woman almost falling off the Grand Canyon who was doing a selfie, and all that stuff. So that you got the selfie danger. There is a marked increase in gastroesophageal reflux, gastric paresis,
Because of the fact
paralysis
that-
in the stomach, because the people for 3.5 hours, these are adults, not adolescents, average for adults, 3.5 hours a day on their machine, and so The first that's high is gastroesophageal reflux, followed by gastric outlet because it's mashing your stomach, but then musculoskeletal stress. Now, I want you to look at me like,
I'm sitting
now wait a minute. Now, real carefully, if you look this way, you remember when you put a nut on the end of a string and swing it like that, you create a huge amount of force at the end of that string, depending on the length of the string, right? And you could bust a window with a thing that's this big around. So when your head goes forward 1 inch, you're putting 10 more pounds of pressure on your low neck, and when it goes through 2 inches, it's just like having a 30-pound baby on your shoulder. So it is creating neck and shoulder disabilities, musculoskeletal things, and arthritis within the neck that over the course of 30 or 40 years will be causing disc disease and causing surgery in the neck. So the smartphone slouch is not, they weren't here and they don't know that you've got somebody that's not coming, and we're having a longer segment today. So anyway, the smartphone slouch is causing serious musculoskeletal things. And what the recommendations were, if you are spending much time on a electronic device, is you should go to the gym for weightlifting and strengthening exercises, which is another reason to put the phone down and go to the gym.
Well, that's why they went to all those ergonomic,
stand
up and use
that. Yes, we have them all over our offices.
Eye level and
that's right. We have them all over our office.
Yeah, excellent. That's a good segment.
All right, I'm not going to get into the STDs in teenagers. We'll do that next week.
All right. Did you have that on the kind of the
news thing? Yes. STDs in teenagers are rising like a rocket.
Sexually transmitted diseases.
Because so many young girls are going on birth control pills that the use of the condom for contraception isn't being used when you're supposed to be using it for STD control, and there's an epidemic of chlamydia in the high schools. Gonorrhea has gone up, and for the first time in a decade, syphilis has gone up.
Holy
and
cow.
The population is adolescents. There.
We'll cover that deeply next week.
That's enough.
That's enough. All right. Well, we had a great segment brought to you by North Georgia Cancer Research Specialists in concert and affiliation with Northside Hospital, right?
Yeah, the big
and
group.
I heard my first great commercial, and I threw that out there because I thought when they said Blue Ridge, Georgia, my God, that's the guy. I know this guy. I'm talking about him.
Right.
So always good to be with you.
All right. Well, that's
enjoy the weekend.
Do it.
Stay warm.
All right. Now you're gonna have your female panel next.
Did you turn that? Yeah, we got a special surprise. We got a full female panel coming in this morning.
Right.
The glass ceiling on the All-Star panel has been broken.
Oh, I'm glad I brought that up. All right.
Good to be with you.
All right.
Josh, take us to break, buddy.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
I'm Jeff Riblett, President of Asset Protection Group. As a certified financial planner and with 20 years experience, I've helped thousands of families and business owners create a tremendous amount of wealth. Fortunately, most of that wealth has been protected. Don't allow an unforeseen life event, such as a nursing home stay or the next market meltdown, destroy your family's wealth. Be smart. Call me. Let's determine how best to protect your assets and preserve your wealth.
Hey, we're back. See anything different here? No, this is not outnumbered on Fox, which you're normally accustomed to seeing at noon. This is the All-Star panel jabbering among themselves, trying to steal my thunder over here. This is what we get when we get a gab fest going on here, or we got some serious politics to talk about.
Oh, we're serious. Yes.
We are absolutely delighted to be joined by Joanne this morning, Cindy, and Jane. Jane is my partner on the regular All-Star panel when BKP is in town, but he is visiting family out in Pennsylvania. He'll be back on the air Monday. And I believe he's coming back in town on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So you might have spoken to him. I don't know, but I think that's what he told me. Anyway, so we're going to carry on. We've got nothing to talk about this week. Nothing really happened in the news.
Never do. We never have anything.
Never have anything to talk about.
Speak
But
for
by
yourself.
gosh, we always find the time to do something, don't
See
we?
that tongue in my cheek?
Last night, in my mind, was one of the most amazing displays of showing such a diverse dichotomy from inside the Beltway to the heartland and what the real people in the middle are reacting to, are thinking, and who they are supporting. Last night we saw a president that went into American Airlines Arena, 20,000 seated capacity, and that's for basketball. That's for hockey.
Go ahead. This is going to be a fun day.
I thought I had some of my shirt over. That tab, I tell you what, gets in the way of all your fun. Anyway, I digress. There, put you. Sorry. Let's see. He went into an arena that seats 20,000 people for hockey. He had more people on the floor, so God knows it was more than 20,000, but I'm sure the fire marshal will tell us. Fake news will tell us he probably only had a smattering of folks there. Right. Anyway, but the unbelievable thing was there were another 30,000 outside watching video monitors. So he had 50,000 people come out and turn out to see and listen to the President of the United States. In my mind, it was a total reversal from what he went through in Minnesota. Why? Because it's not a sanctuary city. Why? Because Antifa never showed up. Why did they not show up? Because it's a carry state. Okay? They were afraid they were going to get their asses shot if they busted in, which they might have. Because, as you know, Texans love their guns and they cling to their religion. So anyway, I just got off my soapbox, and Joanne, you did not see it, but do you agree with what I'm saying about the Heartland is totally disconnected to what's going on in the Beltway in terms of their political thinking and their political support?
I totally agree. I did not watch it, but I did read about it this morning, and I think that's where in the original election, or the 2016 election, where they kept telling us how far ahead Hillary was and that, you know, Trump was so far behind, they thought he would only get 3 electoral votes or something ridiculous. It's because they never polled the heartland. And that's where, you know, America resides. And instead of the 2 coasts, which are very blue and have all the sanctuary cities, but the heartland of America is very patriotic, is very religious, is very supportive of Drain the Swamp. That they're tired of politics. They want someone to fix our problems, and Donald Trump represented the first person that was willing to stand up to the parties and say what was best for America.
Both.
Yes, both. Both
Exactly.
parties
That's
are
what
just
he'll
as
say.
bad, are just as controlling, and spend most of their time worrying about re-election and the control they have over the states and over the people. And they keep passing laws for more control, and I think what we said when we elected Donald Trump is we've had enough.
Exactly. Cindy, what we saw last night when we watched it together is we watched a heartland, we watched people in Texas, and we watched people at home, I think, react so positively to his military stance of late. He said, we're tired of sending our precious men and women into combat and coming back maimed or killed when there's a new way of fighting now, right?
Right, but I'm tacking on to hers a little bit
Sure.
more too. As I was walking out the door this morning, there was a reporter talking to people at the end of the whole shebang and asking them why did they support Trump, what did they think about the rally, all of that type of thing. Very interestingly, almost to a person, and these very diverse group of people that he talked to, all basically had been at the rally, so you assume they were Trump supporters. But the one woman said, Trump is the person we want around because, first of all, he doesn't kowtow to anybody. He doesn't owe anybody anything. He's not bought by the corrupt government that we have in D.C. He doesn't owe them anything. He says what he's thinking. He talks to us like we're real people. He's not up there lecturing us. He's not up there, doing anything that you heard Obama and everybody else tell you that you want to think this way and you want to vote this way and you want to eat these foods. He doesn't do that. He gets up there and he talks to the people.
And I think, he doesn't avoid the people.
Right.
All the other politicians, and the longer they're in the office, they rarely go out to where the people are because they don't want to answer questions. And he'll take any question from anybody, and if he can't answer it, he will get back to them, in other words, or he'll figure it out.
Right.
But he will let anybody ask him a question. He's not afraid of the questions. And all the other politicians are, because they don't want to be on record for saying something.
Yeah.
Obviously
he doesn't care
about it.
Jane, one thing to what Cindy said, you watched it last night, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, you probably didn't watch it, did you?
I watched every one of them. You know I did.
There was a part in there, and I think it was right after he did his typical, right in the middle of the speech, he will recognize all of the, that is his M.O., and he's
It's
so
great.
brilliant at it. But right after that, he said, to what Cindy said, you really don't want a president that acts presidential, do you? And he remembered he came out and he buttoned his coat.
That was pretty funny.
And he stood there and he said, when I'm elected president. He said, no, you just want me to come and talk about it. You want me to tell you what the good, the bad, and the ugly is.
That relates to people so well. I'll tell you, though, I had so many things to say when y'all were talking, and now I've forgotten all.
Oh, come on.
But
was your mom there? Did your mom go?
Yeah, right. She doesn't drive at night, or she would have been there. She's 91. So remember, I've said it before, people get rich on wars. These politicians get exceedingly wealthy, and Trump doesn't get exceedingly wealthy because he has no kickbacks, and it's not just kickbacks from companies they invest in or own, tanks, etc. It's the countries actually send them money to help them or to do this, and Trump wants none of that. But people don't know that unless you really read. People don't know Halliburton and Johnson got crazy rich on war, and Bush has got crazy rich on war. So
Paul Ryan's a perfect example.
Oh, Paul Ryan,
his net worth when he was elected was $378,000, and when he left, it was $7.8 million. Now you multiply his salary for those 12 years.
It doesn't add up.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus he had to live on that salary.
Yeah.
Okay. How did he get to $7.8 million?
Well, that's interesting. They want Trump's tax
returns.
I'd
Yes.
like all of them.
Yeah.
But
I'd like Blumenthal for a start.
This would be a good Glenn Beck thing because he's so good at his things. Is what were they worth when they came in? Pelosi's been there, 32 creeping years?
Oh, God.
What they were when they came in and what they are now, and they make this much money. But we're seeing how it happens with Biden now. We're seeing how things under the table around the world through this company and that country.
They set up their foundations, and then they go out, and they're in charge of a certain part of legislation, and the lobbyists come in and say, we really should make a donation to that foundation because you do such wonderful work. Next thing you know,
right.
the legislation is being passed in their favor.
Or the foundation pays them, a big fee. But look at the speaking fees these people get. I mean, why would you pay
laundering money.
$500,000
It's laundering money.
to a group of 100 people. I mean, how did they get $500,000 to pay the person? All
to
right.
Jane's point, did you hear what she said? It's laundered money.
Yes.
It's absolutely laundered money. And what you said before is accurate, and we've said it on this show before. There are such a tight group of people that are making money, whether we're fighting or whether we're rebuilding after a fight.
Right.
They make money on both ends, whether they're filling shell casings or whether they're building new structures that have been bombed out.
Really?
There's money to be made in war and post-war. So that's why they want to keep this thing going. And Trump said, no more. We're not going to fight everybody's battles. We are a nation that should be a peacekeeper, but everybody else needs to join in the fight, right?
Exactly. Well, that's part of what he's been fighting for all along, and part of all this, pay-for-play stuff going on over in Ukraine and whatever. The reason I withheld the money is because I want all these other people to be bringing in money too.
The NATO contributions.
Right. The United States is getting tired of being the banker for the world. And, that's what they're trying to get him for, but that's not what he did.
Well, doesn't that lead into the Syria thing? Because removing our troops, the whole thing is that Turkey is determined to, create this, they call it a free zone for the Syrian refugees.
20-mile free zone.
Yes. So
neutral zone
right,
almost.
But our troops are the ones that are sitting there. So either we go in and protect the Kurds, all right, which they're claiming, what is it, the PKK.
PKK is a terrorist organization that has been recognized by the country, this country, 3 or 4 years ago, I believe.
Yes, but that's who they're trying to protect. We recognize it as a terrorist group. So our people, our troops are just right there in the middle. And Trump says we don't have enough troops there to start a war,
right,
to defend the whole thing. But the Kurds have over 10,000 ISIS terrorists in prison there, okay? And all of this, the strike and the bombing, it has...
The pet of the week has just entered the room and has almost joined us on the couch.
And now he's beating her to death with his tail.
That's why she brought him early, to calm him down.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Get that boy something.
But this is really important because either we start another war, there's so many fashions there, it's like, why is it our responsibility to sort it out? And here we've got our men there and women in harm's way. It's like he needs to pull them back until they sort it out. I mean, we can't...
Look, the Democrats never thought that the ploy that he put in place would ever work, only because it's never worked for them. They were never able to achieve a ceasefire. They never thought that the threat of sanctions and the threat of sanctions on Turkey would work with Erdogan. But it has, and that's what Trump referred to last night in his speech as tough love. He said, we got to have a little bit of tough love, and he said, you all know what tough love is out there. Erdogan knew that if he imposed those tariffs and those sanctions and Congress followed through with them, and it was bipartisan, by the way, that they were screwed as an economy.
Did he announce last night that there was a ceasefire? Because it was on the radio this morning that...
Right.
And although they're still bombing, but...
There's a little bit on the border. I don't think they got the message yet. But
I was going to say, how do you get the message to the little guys out there on the front
lines?
That's
basically what they were saying this morning.
I don't know if you saw the report this morning, but it said, ceasefire broken, and
big deal.
There's shelling going on. That's the headline.
Right.
That's the headline.
When you dig into it,
it's one little town where they think
Yeah,
nobody knew there was a ceasefire going on.
So they see a little smoke, but so when you get down to it, you know, everything's cool.
Well, and I don't know, because I was listening yesterday, and now Rush Limbaugh said, you know, they're making this big deal about all the troops that we're pulling. He said it's 50.
Yeah.
there are 50 troops being pulled out of there. He said 50 troops. That's this big deal about what we're pulling out of
I
Syria.
thought it was like 2,000.
Well, he said that's what everybody is
50
saying.
too.
You did read?
I read that.
Well,
Okay.
that's what he reported yesterday.
What? Is that all?
Yeah. He said it's
and
only
if it were
50
your
troops.
son or husband and there were 50 of them over there, I'd want them out of there in a
Right, there's
in a
no way to
second.
protect 50.
No.
Well,
and that's what he
ridiculous.
said. He said that's what's so silly about this. But see, nobody's reporting. They're saying 2,000, and you know, then Tulsi Gabbard in the debate the other night said, you know, the blood will be on Trump's hand. There is no, and that's one thing he said in the debate last night at the rally. Not a single American has died with him pulling out these troops. He said that's who I'm protecting. He said, you know, not that the Kurds are not our friends, but I'm protecting the Americans that are over there.
He doesn't
I don't
have
want any
enough
of them
people
to die.
over
No.
there to protect the Kurds
He doesn't.
if Turkey's going to attack.
Exactly.
Okay? They had enough to keep peace being there. But when Turkey says we're coming in, 50 can't stop it. So you have to get ours out until we decide what to do. I mean...
Well, it's like he said about Lindsey Graham. First of all, they've been fighting for centuries, basically. I mean, it just goes on and
Turkey
on
and the Kurds,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And so then we hop in there to do it.
We hopped in there, though, because of ISIS.
Right.
And we
Yeah,
did
we
get them
did
under
get ISIS,
control,
we
and
did.
the Kurds
But
did
now
help
they
with
say
that.
it's-
Kurds
Yes.
lost a
The
lot
Kurds
of people.
did.
Yes.
Right.
And they've done an incredible job, and we want to support them.
We did.
But we can't do it with 50. And how many would he have to send? The
Exactly.
thing to do is to stop Turkey.
By the way, but
Right.
this war was never declared.
Right.
Remember,
They said if you want to
Congress
go
never
in there,
voted on
declare
this.
war.
So
But
yeah,
the difference in Trump is, and any of the other presidents, especially Obama and his creepy little red line. Trump
what?
said, "You should pull out. You should not do that to them. If you do, I'm going to
Make you
give
pay."
great sanctions, and not only that, I can ruin your economy." And
Exactly.
he said, "And I will do it."
Exactly.
And they know he
will do it.
Right.
he pretty
and
much says what he
It's
does
just like
what he
a
says.
mother that says, "Now don't eat those cookies before lunch." You know, yeah. Well, now don't really eat those. You know, if you eat one more, I'm not making any more cookies for a month, and then don't make any more. It's simple.
Yeah.
You're a student of watching the rallies. I know you are. We talk all the time about it. This is rhetorically stated. Do you not think that was one of the best rallies he's ever done?
Yeah, they're just getting better and better, and he is a genius. I'll tell you. Not only in the way he speaks and but I think his decisions are just absolutely fabulous.
Well, he's keeping his promises. That's exactly that's all the American people want, I believe, is a politician that doesn't lie to them. If you're going to do something, then damn it, do it.
Well, the only reason he hasn't done all of his
Right. I
campaign
was just gonna
promises
say.
is Congress.
Exactly.
Okay?
Congress,
And
yes.
when we had both the House and the Senate, it was a travesty that we couldn't have done what the people elected him to do. Okay, Congress stopped him from taking care
Even the
of...
rhinos.
And they still are.
Yes.
And I heard Trump mention rhinos back in Minnesota. Did you hear
Yeah,
him say,
uh-huh.
and some of the rhinos? I thought, well,
Whoa.
hello.
What was
Sounds
your
good to
biggest
me.
takeaway last night from the rally? That's what I was going to...
Well, gosh, the people. What I think is happening, because I did not watch that Democratic one. I mean, I just could not stomach it. I just have to pick up the little pieces the day after.
Yeah.
But I believe what's happening and what is making Trump's rallies even better is that those candidates are getting so ridiculously far left. They're going to they want to pay for free abortion somewhere in California, right? On colleges. They want everyone's health care, even the illegal aliens, which I could be charged $250,000 if I said that.
Right.
Can you believe that? I think people are.
That's in New York, right? Or is it California?
California.
Yeah.
I think people are really waking up. People that were kind of leading, they're saying, and Trump brings it out, you can't do this. It's impossible. We don't even have that much money to
Right.
do it, plus do other things. And people are just, I think they are open, except for your 70-year-old woman. She doesn't have a clue.
That's another subject if we get to it. But
Some people are just hell-bent on it.
people, by the way, we looked
Get
at
to
every
it.
other network. Not any other network but Fox was showing that debate.
Of course not.
So, unfortunately, while Trump stands up there in all these debates and rallies, and tells you what's going on in this country, what really is going on in this country, a lot of people don't watch Fox News. And, there are probably people last night that didn't even know there was a rally. That's the hard part about it. That's what, so he's reaching to all the medias he can, between Twitter and Facebook and everything else. He's trying to get the word out. But people who don't do those things, people who don't watch Fox News, people who, they don't know a lot of what's going on out there. And what to me is amazing, because when I'm on Twitter and I'll see a tweet that is ridiculous, and I go in and I respond to it, but then I read all the other responses. And people are really ignorant.
They are.
And I mean, when I say ignorant, I had a little bit of I told Jane it was a battle. I'll tell you guys it was a discussion on Twitter.
It was a friendly discussion.
A discussion on Twitter with a person I thought had to be and I said to them at one point, "You're obviously young and misinformed." And it turned out she was 70 years old, and she's a liberal, very liberal Democrat. And one of the people was saying, what are they complaining about all these hearings being behind closed doors? Benghazi was behind closed doors, and I'm going, are you kidding me? Benghazi was a House committee hearing that had classified information and stuff, so they took it behind, but the whole committee was there. Everybody was there. Everybody could ask questions, just like they do when they do them in public. These are secret little
enclaves.
Unbelievable.
That the Dems are hand-picking
people
that can be in there. The GOP is not allowed to ask a question. They can have no attorneys in there. People don't even know that. And they say, well, the Republicans can ask questions. No, they can't.
So
that's how stupid people
that's
are.
That's how people don't know.
So uninformed they are.
I mean, all right, who's Sondheim or something?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, he owns a hotel chain, Province Hotels, all right, which half of which, it's a small boutique one, but half of them are in Oregon and Washington. Okay, he's supposed to testify today about what was said in this Trump tweet and who wrote the tweet and whatever. But they are picketing his hotels, all right? They have a boycott going on his hotels. If he doesn't testify the way they want, they're not going to stop these. So here he is, instead of being able to say whatever it is, he's got to worry about his business, all right? He's the ambassador to Europe, the EU.
EU.
Right.
Yes. And it's the other side fights dirty. It's just like in these rallies, the protesters, they're so ugly and they are so dangerous and people are actually afraid, okay? Whereas on the Republican side, if they go to protest something, they stand there quietly, they stand where they're supposed to stand. And
Joanne, this has been going on for years. You know, it started at the Justice Brothers, as Rush affectionately calls them. The Reverend Jesse, and the Reverend Al would use the Push Coalition, or they would use Rainbow Push, whatever it was, to threaten the networks. They
would shake them down.
Right.
Exactly. Go in there and say,
we will boycott
you.
Your network if you don't say and act the way we want you to say and act.
It's like in South Carolina. There'll be no more conventions.
Exactly.
Right. Yes, if you don't take the flag down.
They would also ask for money. They would also ask, I read something about that.
That's how they support.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would literally extort money from them.
They would. Yes. So here's two things. One is I saw a picture of a woman who looked to be 65-ish, dressed a
young
scarf.
Girl.
Yeah, you know. There was an effigy of Trump, and she had a knife about this long. Did you see that on Twitter? She was stabbing that. I'm thinking...
That wasn't a hate thing?
Yeah. Well, hello.
Not in the Democrats' mind. It's
no,
not.
but they put that on Twitter, and I'm watching this older. It wasn't like a young kid with a black mask. It was a grandmother just stabbing and stabbing, and I'm sitting there in disbelief. I can't believe it. That hate, So what I did with my grandchildren, which I have them all over the place, some of them are way out in the rainbow, once communism. So I tweeted, and I texted them. Gosh, I got so much stuff. Tweet, text, oh yeah. So I said,
send it somehow.
I said, children, I want you to think about this. We got people in Hong Kong who are calling for freedom. American flags are flowing down the streets. They're just everywhere, and there some of them are dying. Guy jumped off the thing for freedom. They know, and they've lived communism. Right. They've lived it, and now they're doing this. And I said, the people on our side are picketing and wanting socialism and communism. They've never lived it, and they don't know what they're doing.
No.
First of all, they've never learned about it in school, and that was part of the plan starting way back.
Get rid of the civics class.
Right. So I wanted them to think, you know, why are we wanting communism? I mean, they don't look at it as a reality.
No.
They look at it that everything's going to be free. We have wonderful food
Equality.
delivered. Yeah,
Equality.
Oh my God.
They don't understand that it's not equality. It's called the government will take
Tells you what
over
to do.
your life.
But if they would ever talk to anyone that came here legally,
Oh,
my
right.
doctor came here from Vietnam. My late husband came here from Canada. He came here to escape socialism. Okay, he was ashamed
friends
of
from
what
Cuba
happened
that-
to Canada.
Yeah.
All right. My doctor said he doesn't understand. He'll talk to me at times, and he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Because I used to have my Tea Party thing on, and he said, "I don't understand what's wrong." He said, "Do you know how hard I worked to get to America
Right.
for the freedoms that you all are throwing away?" He said, "What is wrong with this country?"
What is wrong?
To that point, we have a very close friend, and she's going to appear with me on this show. She wasn't ready to do it just yet. Her name is Ceci, and she is one of the most avid Trump supporters I have ever seen. Where did they come from? They immigrated from communist Cuba. Her parents and her 4 sisters, they came here with zippity doodah in the what was it? The Merrill
the boat.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
in
You
the
know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm sorry that escapes me now.
either,
but they came to Miami. They were reassigned with a few dollars in their pocket over to Mississippi, Texas, and then she eventually came back. She loves this country. She loves the freedoms, and she's ready to come on. She said, I want to get a T-shirt that says, Cubans for Trump. But she is exactly like you said.
Yes.
And there are thousands of those people.
There's millions of those people, okay,
You're
that
right.
immigrated here in the last 50 years that worked hard to get here. You had to be part of a quota, all right? I mean, we can't take in everybody. Why we let millions walk across the border, you know, with other people worked so hard to get here.
Yep.
And then the people that worked hard to get here don't understand why we're just letting people walk across. In fact, my late husband said one time when he was still waiting for his green card, all right, after we got married, he said, I should have gone to Mexico and swam across.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
he had to pay $800 a month for health insurance, okay, $800 a month for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and yet you got it free if you swam across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
Go
I
figure,
don't
right?
We're going to support all the illegals that come into this country.
Yes.
They're getting free education, free health care. You know, now they want to, pay for all these people that went into debt going to college. We're going to really, all the people that paid off their own debts from college.
I had
all
to
of them.
sign an affidavit, okay, and so does everyone else that supports a person for a green card. I had to sign an affidavit, and the lawyer made sure I understood it. He called to make sure I understood what I was signing, that he could never get public assistance from the United States, that if he ever needed support, even if we divorced, I had to pay
you
it.
got to pay it.
Okay?
Right, exactly.
So I made him sign one that said if we got divorced, he'd go back to Canada.
Well, I warned you all that we had 3 ladies here that were going to tackle this stuff head on. Anyway, we've covered a lot of ground. I know you want to touch on a little a little local flavor. So, Lonnie, why don't we take a quick break here? We'll talk about our winners and losers on the break and how we're going to handle that. We'll let Joanne talk a little bit about Carter's Lake over in Gilmer County, or does
Well,
that?
it's really all. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Murray County and Fannin and Gordon and
it touches a lot of the counties around here. We need to make some folks aware of what's going on there. So, Lonnie, take us to a quick break, and then at the end of the show, we'll come back with Rena, who is that guy? Nico.
Nico. Nitro is more like it.
Yeah, Nitro. Got his Superman outfit on.
Ace is your healthful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
3 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
We are back, folks. We had a rousing discussion with our all-star female panel. I shouldn't even differentiate. I just
Right.
should say our
Exactly.
all-star panel, right?
Exactly.
We're persons.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I
I
said
don't
that I
mind.
was going to
I
get.
don't mind
wham,
either.
wham,
I don't
wham.
mind. Nope, I don't mind at all. That's what we are.
We are.
What are
I'm
your-
not. I'm not
what is your
decrying the
pronouns?
fact that
We're
all
not
females.
gender neutral.
No,
Yeah,
we're
what
not
are your
general
pronouns?
neutral.
What
Exactly.
pronouns do you prefer, ladies?
She, her.
She.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we
for us.
we really beat up that Trump rally pretty good, and he beat up the candidates. Speaking of the candidates, we got Elizabeth Warren now that I think, based on the money that she's raised and the polls that they've done, is kind of moved into the lead over a fading Sleepy Joe.
A liar.
Fading Sleepy Liar Joe. And Bernie is Bernie. Bernie's going to keep his supporters. And Bernie's nothing but an avowed socialist. And he will be
Bernie's
the first to
burnt
say
out.
it. Exactly.
That's a good one.
He
Yeah.
said, I'm the only one that's a true
Real
socialist.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, if you think that's a true socialist, let me tell you what Elizabeth Warren wants to do. She wants to spend $30 to $40 trillion over 10 years on Medicare for all. She wants to spend $2 trillion on the forgiveness of all student loans. She wants to spend another $2 trillion. These are trillions with a T on Social Security expansion, and $3 trillion for climate change. Now you do the math, folks.
Climate
There ain't enough money on the planet
There's not. They don't have that.
to even come close to paying for that. You can take all the rich people in the world and take every nickel that they've got, and it's still not going to make a dent into what she's trying to do.
You know, money has been tossed around now for so long, since Obama literally, doubled the debt of every other president before him, that people hear trillion and it doesn't even
Right,
register. It's not million, it's not 1,000, guys, it's not a million, it's not a billion, it's a trillion.
What's after trillion? Anyone know?
A gazillion,
Is there a
bazillion.
word for after
Yeah,
trillion?
There
I
is.
think it is zillion.
A gazillion.
No, not gazillion. It's just zillion.
Zillion.
Quadrillion.
Quadrillion. Thank you.
Quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion.
Oh, okay.
That's why we keep Lonnie around. Not only can he produce a show with perfection, but he will
He knows
bail
how
us
to
out
spend
when we
money.
need- That's right.
But I mean, the money thing, people don't even think about anymore.
Yeah.
We were going to try to get to be a little bit more fiscally conservative, and we can't because these people keep talking about trillions.
Well, I think also that one of the things, and we should really do a show on it, is the whole Federal Reserve
Yep,
issue.
my mind was right there.
Okay, because the only way the Federal Reserve, Powell just this morning has said now that he's going to, it's a form of quantitative easing, except he's not calling it that, but they're basically going to print more money.
I
The
know.
only reason
How
that they
can
need
they-
to print more money is to cover our debt. We're so far in debt, and the only way we can pay it is to print
Another QE.
more money.
Yeah.
And the only way we can get upside, we're so upside down, and the only way to solve that
know where you're
is
going.
a war. Okay, and so
Yeah.
when you almost when you segue into, I went to Syria, but I thought of going to the Federal Reserve. All right, and this is so serious, and people don't understand this, and we are so on the edge. And then to talk about all this free stuff for everybody. We have no money. How do you give away something when you're broke?
Exactly.
You
We
can't.
just don't have
And
it.
what happens when you're broke? You still,
Yeah.
What happens when you're broke? Where does the money come from?
Yeah.
You know what we need to do? Someone needs to do, not me, but they need to have several documentaries on the Federal Reserve. I bet over 50% of the people in this country believe it's a federal institution.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd say more than 50%.
I do too.
Okay, good. And they will not believe you when you say it is not. What do private people have the right to tell us what our interest rate is?
But the thing is, they're the
Et
ones
cetera.
that control the debt. They're the ones when
I know,
we
they
issue these
could-
dollars that they're then getting the private dollars. Okay, I mean I'm. We need Glenn Beck's whiteboard to explain
we
this.
need a full
but we
show
need
on
to
that,
take
right.
a whiteboard
Really?
there and do a whole show
Yeah.
because to educate people that they could then look at this, because it's hard to understand. But it's why you may want to get out of the stock market. And I sold everything out in '07 when the market was at 14,000 something. And no, when it was at 13.8, I sold everything.
I
My
would
broker
love
couldn't
to.
understand why I was doing that. I said, because I want to sleep at night. Well, the market in the next 3 weeks went to 14.3. I thought, oh my God, I've made a mistake. But I looked at the Federal Reserve debt, and it did something it hadn't done in 40 years, all right? And it went negative. It always kept the same number of billion every month, all those years. And it went halfway the month before, and in September it went negative. And I thought, something's wrong, all right? And it's doing that again. And so after it went to 14.3, it went to 6,900. I mean, shoom,
I remember
okay?
that.
And I was in all cash. And I thought, wow, that was pretty cool. Well, I don't have the guts to do it again. I'm not, I'll tell you what, I've stayed mostly in cash all this time, which meant I've lost a lot of potential gain. But I have every few months I decide to buy something. And then I read this thing this morning and I thought, oh my God, you know, and if they impeach Trump, we're
screwed.
We're screwed.
We're screwed regardless.
I mean, our entire economy.
I know you want to cover just a touch
Yes.
of local. We've got about 7 minutes left before we got to break, and I want to go to winners and losers real
I'll
quick.
do this
So
real quick.
Just do a real quick
Okay.
synopsis on Carter's Lake, which touches several of the North Georgia counties up here. Correct?
Yes, a lot of people. It's a Corps of Engineer lake, and it's a beautiful lake, and it's an incredible resource. And our U.S. government has cut the funding to all the Corps projects around the country, so it's not just ours. But the funds were cut significantly enough that they can no longer manage all the boat ramps and all the things that they have to take care of in the campgrounds. So they have taken some steps to try to live within the budget that the federal government has given them. And this is my interpretation. But if we weren't spending so much money supporting all those camps at the border for all the people that come across illegally, providing health care and cell phones and whatever, maybe we could continue to support the resources that our citizens use. But anyway, Carter's Lake has had to, they have proposed closing the Woodring Branch boat ramp, which has always been open year-round. So the people that fish and use the lake year-round, that ramp will be closed. They have said if they had enough volunteers, they could possibly keep it open, and at Wednesday night's meeting, a lot of volunteers came forward and they're reconsidering it. But the campground now that is booked solid always is now down to Memorial Day to Labor Day. That's 3 months. And because they can't keep it open the rest of the time, which seems ridiculous considering it's booked solid.
Yep.
The whole time it's open. It's
closed.
always been closed in the winter, but it used to be open April to November or something. So anyway, this is something that's affecting us. They've asked Gilmer County to co-share, manage the facility, the whole Carter's Lake. Gilmer County's got its own budget problems, and it's trying very hard because this is so important. They're trying to work out something, but they just can't do it instantly. Everybody that came to the meeting, I mean, it was overwhelmingly packed, and everyone wanted to know why they couldn't just keep it open. And it's not that easy. But it's the federal government that's reduced the funds, and you need to talk to your congressman and senator and tell them that, you know, why you're opposed to this, that these are our recreational facilities, and even if you don't use it, lots of people do, and it's a great place to take your grandkids and whatever.
Yep.
So it's your U.S. senators and congressmen, Congress mostly because they appropriate funds, that you need to tell them that they need to look into this. They're probably not even aware that it's affecting, you know, our particular facility.
That's good stuff. Lonnie, I know Lonnie's been covering it on the local level. You're tied in a little bit now with following up on the federal side, but you can catch Lonnie's reporting on FetcherNews.com. And with that, thank you for that. That's good stuff. Reach out to Doug Collins.
Yes, Doug Collins is our representative here. In fact, I think he has most of the lake. However, Gordon County might be Tom Graves.
Got it. Okay. And let's start here with winners and losers. And I don't know if you've got both or one, but go.
I do have both. My losers is very simple. It's the Bulldogs, the Falcons, and the Braves.
Oh, stabbed you in the heart, right, Lonnie?
Okay. Now, my winner is the city of Baltimore.
Woo! City of Baltimore.
And
let me see what happened recently in Baltimore.
I am sorry. I didn't wish any ill will for Elijah Cummings, but Elijah Cummings was no more supporting his district than a man in the moon. I mean, he rarely ever appeared, and only then if it was something that was some big company-sponsored whatever.
Aren't you
I'm
from
a
that
Marylander,
area?
yes,
Okay.
and I remember when
She
he
can
was
speak to
elected
that
30
then.
years ago, and he was so adamant about getting help for his district. And as Trump pointed out recently, that he's done nothing for his district. That's where they're having the Baltimore riots and
No,
all the
it's
people.
terrible.
I said, I've spent time driving through that area 2 years ago to Johns Hopkins, which is in that area. And it is so scary. You're afraid to stop at a traffic light. Everything that's boarded up and the people out on the street, they need help there. And now maybe they'll elect somebody that will care about the district, that will work hard with the Governor Hogan.
Governor's Republican, correct?
Yes. And present things that would help that district, because Elijah Cummings was not doing that.
Will the governor be able to put someone in his place in the interim? Is that the role of the governor?
I don't know how much time. Well, let's see.
It depends on the time left, correct?
Yes, and it's a year and something because he's part of the
We'll have to look
Congress.
into that. Those
Yes.
are two great ones. Cindy, you have?
My loser is, but she's a loser all the time, but Nancy Pelosi, who staged this walkout that she, for the Syria thing, and then went out and has the nerve, which she does, because as her daughter said, she could cut off somebody's head and they wouldn't know it, to go out with Steny Hoyer and Chuck Schumer, who flanked her on either side, and say how horribly she was treated, even though the whole thing was staged to start with.
That was staged, right?
Staged.
The whole thing was
Everything
a
was
setup.
staged
She
from the
left
beginning.
before she was treated anyway.
Yeah.
Well, no, when he called her a third-rate politician, which is what she is.
Truth
That was
hurts.
that. She said she was insulted, and Steny Hoyer and Dick Schumer just,
can't
fawned
stand
over
to
her.
be
Yeah.
insulted.
My winner
Winner?
is Mike Pence, who went over to Turkey with
Pompeo.
went over to Turkey with Pompeo, but while he was there and they got this ceasefire, he gave all the credit to Trump. He takes no credit for himself and said, without President Trump, this could have never happened.
Good. Janie Cakes.
Well, I've just thought of some. Because, I had to
Right
sit
off
till the
the
last
cuff.
minute. But whomever I thought about the winner, I'm changing to support Baltimore. I mean, that's the best winner. And I'm sorry, as you are, for anyone to die.
Yeah, you're sorry for anybody's loss.
I am so curious about how they're going to vote the next time. Are they going to turn red, and are they going to want and if they don't, heaven help them.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be their problem. And the losers, someone said, I think the losers are all those gicky-wicky Democratic candidates. They are, and they're losers today, and they're going to be losers in 2020, and I think it's going to be a landslide for the Reds, a landslide.
You've segued perfectly into what I was going to say. I've only got one winner, and that's Trump. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, he comes out and he says, whether you love me or whether you hate me, you got to vote for me. Based on what you just said, we got the Betos of the world that want to take your guns forcibly, and they want to and take away your tax breaks for the religious institutions. Yeah. You can go down the line and name it, but it replicates to every one of them. You can find that big of it's just awful. But
That's
anyway,
the impeachment
this
push.
was great. I really appreciate you
fun.
guys coming. Thanks for getting up early. Thank you for getting up early. Tell Keith we said hello, and thank you for thank him for sharing you with us.
You did a great job, always.
Well, thank you. And
Hello,
you always do as
BKP.
well. So,
And it's Apple
anyway.
Festival week, and it wasn't fun to try to get here with all the extra traffic on the road. And
Yeah, you get
tomorrow
to-
is the first day of hunting season, so come and ask, and Newport, you have all those hunting places out there. Everybody's getting their tree stands
Getting their
set
tree
up.
stands up. You got the Apple Festival. Tomorrow's Paws in the Park. Don't miss the dock diving out there. It'll be there on Saturday and Sunday, right across from the old firehouse. I think you've got the Apple Festival this weekend as well, right? This is the second weekend? What's that?
The parade.
Parade's tomorrow. Okay, there you go. Hopefully we will dodge a little bit of the projected rain, but it is what it is. You can't control the weather.
No.
Anyway, Lonnie,
In spite
when
of
we
what
come
they
back,
say.
we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have the Pet of the Week. We have Superman, a superhero in the house.
Yeah.
And that's not only Rena, but it's the dog.
And this is
Lonnie,
looks
take
like
us to
a
break.
beautiful.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in Ella next to Walmart.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
I'm Jeff Riblett, President of Asset Protection Group. As a certified financial planner and with 20 years experience, I've helped thousands of families and business owners create a tremendous amount of wealth. Fortunately, most of that wealth has been protected. Don't allow an unforeseen life event, such as a nursing home stay or the next market meltdown, destroy your family's wealth. Be smart. Call me. Let's determine how best to protect your assets and preserve your wealth.
Folks, we are back. We are back with my superhero, and that's Rena.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Rena does a great job every Friday. She brings us someone from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. Today she brought over our superhero, Superman, Nico.
Yeah, this is Nico. He's a little over 2 years old. Nico is a great dog. He's been in the shelter a long time. As you can see, he will get on the couch with you, or he'll sit outside in the furniture with you. So
he just wants to be loved.
He is a big love. There you go, good boy. He is a big love, and as you can see, he can entertain himself with his hard toys. He has been twice. He was taken to a home, and we have found out through trial and error that he needs to be the only dog.
Okay.
Because
he's a little bit of an A dog, huh?
Right. Well, he gets a little jealous if the other dog comes to you, if you're the master.
Okay.
And he wants you. He wants to be all. He wants you all to himself. So we have found out that he needs to be the only dog. A fenced-in area for Nico is a great idea. He is very strong. He will run outside, he will play, and then he will come back in and go to sleep.
How old do you think he is?
He's a little over 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's still basically just getting out of puppydom.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, he'll slow down. And I took him outside. When I came in, yeah, he was hard, he was hyper or whatever.
You mean the fact that he was dragging you in by...
Yes. But you have to remember, I just got him out of the shelter.
Yeah.
So the first thing they see is, oh, get me
Freedom.
out of here. Yeah. So he rides so well in the car. And then when we came in here, he was just so excited to see everybody. But when I walked him back out, he calmed down.
Yeah.
And
and he came right in here and laid down.
And he laid down and everything was fine. It's just that initial getting out of the shelter. And once he gets to a home and the owner is able to work with him repeatedly, routinely, on the same level, he is a great dog now, but he will be a better dog.
Yep.
So outside, I stopped him from pulling me because I had the ability a little bit better out there than in here.
Right.
But, and then he stopped and he'd look at me and I'd say, okay, come on. And he was walking by my side. So it's just a matter of routine with him and keeping everything in perspective and letting him know his do's and don'ts, so to speak.
Every time I hear Nico, I think of the character Steven Seagal on Above the Law movie, and let me tell you, he was a good guy, but he was bad to the bone.
Nico?
Yeah.
Nico? Oh,
Nico
okay,
was.
okay.
This is a good guy, and he's not bad to the bone.
No, but he's strong.
Yeah,
he's
but he's strong, just like Steven Seagal.
You can see he's wagging his tail.
Yep.
He's just a big lover, and he needs a home that will give him attention because that's what he wants. He just wants attention. He will kiss you all over. He's good with treats. He's just a great dog. He heard the little baby over there crying.
Very alert.
Yes, his ears perked up, and
perked right
he
up.
was fine with that. And he has been. He's good with kids. He's just too strong. You have to be able to tone that down.
Right.
But he's again one dog owner, and the only
Preferably
one
with a fenced yard.
Oh yeah, a fenced yard would be great because then you can go out and you can play. I just recently fenced in my yard and I'm having so much fun with my animals, not having to worry about cars or other dogs roaming free or whatever. Fenced in yard is great because then you can have quality time.
There's a great new organization in town who came to our open house, and it's Fences for Fido.
Yes.
And we want to try to support them as much as we can, folks. If you've got a dog and if you've already got a pet and you just don't have the means, but you really need to give that dog some freedom, reach out. There, look at Nico.
He sees the baby.
He sees the baby
he saw the
going
little
out.
baby.
There's the
Yeah,
baby.
that was a baby, wasn't it? Yes, it was.
You can get a hold of them through our organization. I've got to talk about a little bit about Paws in the Park.
Oh yeah.
Paws in the Park is one of our annual fundraisers for the Humane Society. It's downtown Blue Ridge. It'll be consists of a pet parade. I think at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, I believe.
There'll be a costume contest, and then there'll be vendors out there. There'll be a lot of the adoption, the pet adoption, the rescue organizations represented, including the Humane Society.
Right.
I think we're going to do microchipping out there.
I believe there's microchipping.
Right. You can sign up for a $20
spay and neuter, which is very important.
Yeah. very important, very reasonable, and since we put that program into effect, it has become extremely popular, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it, which is a good thing. The other thing that we've added this year, we've got dock diving, which is a competitive. You might have seen it on TV. Purina hosts it. We're being sponsored this year. The dock diving by Ingalls. Our own Ingalls has stepped up and is sponsoring this event, where the dogs will come out there and compete, and they'll see what kind of a length they can achieve by running and chasing some kind of a hard toy or something in there. So that's going to be Friday. That's going to be Saturday. Yes, distance. That's going to be Saturday and Sunday, with the finals and the championship being hosted on Sunday. So don't forget to come out and see us there. We'll probably have. I don't know if Nico will be there tomorrow, but I know they are going to probably have a few dogs come out.
Yes.
So if you are interested in pet adoption, there'll be plenty of candidates there for you to judge. Come pet, come see, come check us out. So tell them where we are located.
Okay, we are at 171 Mineral Springs Road, which is just off of Aska. Call us at 706-632-4357. Follow us on Facebook. Go to our website, humanesocietyofblueridge.org, and you can see all of our adoptable cats, kittens, puppies, and dogs. And we have a variety of everything, and you can see we can match you up to one perfect for your house and your home and your companion.
Rena, thanks always for coming.
No, thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time to showcase some of these animals that are looking for their next forever home. So, Lonnie, thank you again for the great job that you do. Appreciate you getting here early this morning, getting everything set up, and taking us through the 2-hour chicanes. Anyway, Lonnie, take us out, and we appreciate you.